Time now for a check-in with Erin Kelly, CEO and co-founder of Advanced Symbolics Inc, to find out what Polly the A.I pollster has to say about the state of the race so far. Always good to have you in that chair, Erin.
Great to be here.
Well, of course, with the election being called 16, 17 months early in the dead of winter, I'm hearing from lots of candidates that nothing's going on out there, right? People are not home. It's too cold for campaigning. What are you picking up online in terms of engagement levels?
Believe it or not, because I thought the same thing. I thought people were checked out of this election. The engagement is higher this period before the election, in this election, than it was in 2022.
How does that make any sense?
Well, people are online talking. Maybe they're not opening their doors. Maybe they don't want to talk to the candidates. That's possible. But they're definitely talking to each other and having lots and lots of debates about how the province should move forward, what the issues are, and what they would like to see.
That is very encouraging. What are the top issues that people are talking about?
Tariffs, and not just tariffs, but how Ontario's economic future and economic development. Healthcare, of course, but that's a minefield. Public safety and infrastructure. So there's actually a lot of issues and a lot of deep discussions in all of those.
Infrastructure, as in, should we build a highway underneath the 401 or a tunnel under the 401?
Infrastructure, as in, our infrastructure is crumbling. What should we be prioritizing? Feeling that the priorities haven't been where people want them to be up to date. You know, that we need roads, not spas, not, luxury places, a lot of those conversations. So yeah, in each of those topics, there's lots and lots of conversation taking place.
I know Polly is very sophisticated as an artificial intelligence thing, but is Polly able to disaggregate information, as in, here's what people in Northern Ontario think as opposed to Eastern, as opposed to Southwestern, as opposed to... Can she do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
She can.
Yeah.
So are there differences, depending on where you live in the province, on what you think the key issues are?
Yes. So if you're in, say, the GTA, infrastructure is really important. In rural areas, we're seeing, in addition to tariffs and economic development, we're seeing that's where the public safety, because they don't have they feel the ambulances and the firefighters and things like that in rural areas that they need. Healthcare as well, of course, and access to it, but different needs than what you see in the city. So yeah, there's different conversations happening in different parts of the province and among different demographics as well.
Let's look at the leaders. Do you pick up stuff on Polly which suggests, yes, Doug Ford is good on this, but not so good on this? And what are the this and this in that case?
Doug Ford specifically?
Yeah.
With Doug Ford, it's experience, basically political experience. The fact that he's been there, he's been through a crisis before. They see him as competent at managing crises, and that's a lot of what we're seeing today. So just for him, it's not any one thing in particular. It's many little things that he's doing, and especially in this campaign, that's getting him ahead.
Does he have an Achilles heel that you're picking up?
He has many Achilles heels.
Okay.
So it's a polarizing thing. So depending on the topic, so healthcare is an Achilles heel, and many different little topics in there, such as long-term care, acute care. There's lots of those things. I would say that's his biggest Achilles heel.
Do you pick up a desire by the public to increase significantly the amount of money we're spending on health, which is north of $80 billion a year already? What are you hearing?
No.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very so healthcare. And that's why I mean it's a minefield. So even something like doctor shortage, right, which a lot of the candidates are campaigning on, only about 65% of people feel that we have a doctor shortage, which maybe the candidates would be surprised at that. A lot of people are saying we don't want to throw money into a system that's broken, because then it becomes an endless pit.
Throw good money after bad.
Right, yeah, exactly. So fix the system. And so we're hearing people say things like, use the right healthcare professional for the issue you have. Like if you're a healthy 25-year-old, do you need a doctor, or do you just need somebody who can run regular tests to make sure you continue to be healthy? And
Nurse practitioner might do the job.
Exactly, or people saying pharmacists, all that kind of thing. People want to do more home health care. They want more, people are saying, look, the doctor's office hasn't changed since like the 1980s when they remember going there as a kid. The doctors aren't, primary care physicians aren't investing in new technologies because the system doesn't really incent them to do that. And so we're not seeing that progression. And so fix the system so that we get better technology, more efficiency, and better use of healthcare practitioners before you decide to just keep throwing money into it.
This may be an obvious question, but is there a relationship between how much money you make and the party you tend to support? As in, do better off people tend to vote Conservative and less well-off people tend to vote, I don't know what, NDP, Liberal, Green? You tell me.
Well, there's a trend, but it's not that one.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting. So NDP and the Green Party are, especially, so Mike Schreiner is skewing the highest on income. And interestingly enough, those people like him because of his advocacy for the poor.
So he's got the bleeding heart liberals on his side.
He's got the bleeding heart liberals.
Okay.
And then Marit Stiles also trending in people who make between 150 to 200,000 household income. And then Bonnie Crombie and Doug Ford are fighting over that middle class, with Doug Ford doing somewhat better with young people in that middle class than Bonnie Crombie is.
Younger people leaning conservative is a fascinating new trend, isn't it?
Yeah, we see it in the States. We saw it here in the past provincial elections as well, young people voting for Doug Ford. In this case, he's actually courting them quite well because he's talking about the stimulus package, which appeals to young people, right, that want those jobs.
And federally, Pierre Poilievre was picking up a lot of young conservative supporters.
Affordable housing, and they're getting in not through mainstream media, but through channels that young people listen to.
Doug Ford put a baseball cap on, and it said, "Canada's not for sale," and he was on the front page of all the papers and got a great deal of attention, pushing back against this notion that we're about to become the 51st state. How much has that bolstered his appeal among voters?
Not a lot. Not in terms of the vote. It got a blip when it happened, when he did it, but compared to other things, like his experience and leadership, it didn't have a big effect.
So that was a moment.
It was a moment.
But it passed.
It was a passing moment.
Interesting. Okay. We are, I guess, we're more than halfway through the campaign right now. Not much time left for the opposition parties to try to change the channel, if that's going to happen. Maybe it won't happen. Does Polly point to anything, I don't know if it's an issue or if it's a strategy or whatever, that the opposition leaders could do in order to get people to take a second look at them? Because at the moment, Ford's in first place in every polls and looking like he's going to march to the finish line pretty easily.
Yeah, and we see him going that way as well. So for Bonnie Crombie, we're seeing a lot of people are feeling that she's a lot like Doug Ford. I mean, she doesn't have her own brand. She's a fiscal conservative. She says that. So there's not enough distinction there. So if she were to come out, for example, she's gone strong on healthcare, tackle some of what's less, we're seeing less conversation about the innovation in healthcare. She could really forge a path for herself there by saying, I'm thinking differently. She needs to think differently because people are saying, well, she's sort of Doug Ford without the cronyism kind of things that we're saying now, without the RCMP investigation hanging over her. So they don't see a difference in her approach or her beliefs or her values. So she needs to parse that out again a little bit more. And Marit Stiles, it's really amplitude. People who know her like her, but she's in an echo chamber. She's not reaching, we have a metric that we call new voices, are new people talking about you. Bonnie Crombie is reaching new people, but Marit Stiles is in a little bubble.
Does the leaders' debate on Monday night, televised province-wide, present a significant opportunity to change the narrative of this campaign, in your view?
Yes, especially possibly for Marit Stiles, because right now we see a lot of the people that are talking about Marit Stiles are already NDP supporters. They're getting their information from NDP sites, from NDP channels, and she's not getting out of that. So I think the debate will have hopefully a good opportunity for her to reach a new audience.
And just in our last 30 seconds here, the mainstream media and the way they have covered the campaign, what impact?
Well, that's interesting because when we looked at Bonnie Crombie, for instance, we saw that where a lot of people were referencing mainstream media articles about her from the Toronto Star and various places. But when we looked at Merritt Stiles, a lot of the information that they got on her platform came from NDP sources. We did not see a lot of engagement. Now, I don't know if that's because she's not getting the airplay on mainstream media that Bonnie Crombie is. Maybe her team is not as good at getting out there, or the articles aren't interesting enough for people to talk about them. I don't know what it is, but like I said, she's in that bubble and she's not bursting out of it. Bonnie Crombie seems to be getting a lot more airplay, or maybe using mainstream media much more effectively.
Well, debates are usually the moment in the campaign where people start to really focus a lot more, and they do present an opportunity, and we'll have the debate here on TVO, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday night. I hope people watch, as I hope they watch you, Erin, whenever you come in here. Thanks a lot for making the trek from Ottawa.
Thanks, Steve.